The views and opinions expressed by hosts and guests on Patriots with Grit do not necessarily reflect those of Patriots with Grit LLC, its founders, and owners.
Get ready for truth bombs and guidance from conservative leaders and entrepreneurs, from God-fearing, freedom-loving, truth-telling, patriotic Americans. Welcome to Patriots with Grit. Now let's jump into today's episode with your host, Darren Ross.
You know what, Randy? I had no idea how vulnerable we really are.
This digital world, it controls every aspect of our lives.
Today's show, we're going to find out exactly how to protect ourselves with all our digital devices. Here we go.
Introducing Republican Red Winery, where you will find freedom in a bottle. Republican Red brings you bold, structured wines that celebrate American resolve and tradition. Experience the unforgettable Midnight Hammer Magnum, a powerful Cabernet from a historic Carmel Valley vineyard built to last, just like the American spirit. And for a toast to resilience, the 45-47 collection, Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, honoring legacy, leadership, and the promise for a stronger tomorrow. Republican Red. Sip boldly, share freely. Get $5 off your order using the link or the scan code. Don't miss out and get yours today.
Do you want to guess how much money Americans just like you lost to cybercrime? $37 billion.
We're at a very critical point in data protection and data privacy.
Where is the federal privacy laws in the United States to protect and secure our information? He's putting his own servers in Treasury Department. If I was an attacker, I was a foreign adversary, that's a gold mine.
I think and act like an adversary. If there is a vulnerability, I can find it. I have worked in security for over 30 years. I've worked at Lockheed Martin, CTO of McAfee.
He hacked for the CIA and is now a cybersecurity consultant.
Cybersecurity expert,
former CIA hacker,
a CEO, Secure Anchor,
Eric Cole.
Dr. Eric Cole.
Eric Cole.
Eric Cole, thanks for joining us.
Eric, good morning. A pleasure to have you on the show.
The internet and cyberspace and cell phones provide such a good benefit that we don't see the negative side effects. The tides have shifted. Cyberspace is now a battlefield.
FEMA or somebody else needs to set up cybersecurity emergency response centers in every state, just like we do for natural disasters and terrorist attacks.
What if we now use AI as a defensive tool instead of an offensive tool?
I'm not going to be targeted.
These scams are all about death by 1,000 cuts.
You must recognize and own the fact that you are a target. And cybersecurity is your responsibility. We're in this critical stage now, so communication is probably one of the most critical skills you need to learn.
There are some jobs that are going to be replaced by robots, but we get to decide how quick and how fast.
Data privacy is a train that's leaving the station and never coming back.
Encryption is the heart and soul of protecting your data.
High-tech companies, they're so focused on functionality that they overlook security. We can give away our security to cyber criminals. It's up to you. I'm on a mission to make cyberspace a safe place to live, work, and raise a family. I am Dr. Eric Cole. I am America's cyber czar.
Well, hey, everybody, we have a banger of a show lined up for you all today here on Patriots with Grit. We're going to talk about recognizing the threats of cybersecurity.
That is a big topic, not only from a national security standpoint, but let's dig into the personal threats that we have. They're constantly trying to get our information, and that's happening through phishing, whaling,
debit and credit cards.
Yep, email clicks, all that stuff. But we're going to see today how we can protect our info and take advantage of our digital safety.
We have America's cyber czar, Dr. Eric Cole. He's going to be on here, and he's going to show you guys how to keep safe in every way online. Well, Dr. Eric Cole, it's a pleasure to have you on here today with Patriots with Grit. You are known as America's cyber czar. I know with all the crazy stuff going on today with AI and chat and Grok and everything else, Randy, you've kind of dipped your toes into a little bit of that. I refuse to. I'm still trying to figure out how to cut and paste, but you're kind of advancing. You're dabbling a little bit in AI.
Well, we're using Copilot at work, and I've been put on the champions team because I like to experiment. So
I kind of like to stay back to the dark ages, kind of like with mail and fax machines. But Randy Randy's a little ahead of me, Eric, but talk to us a little bit about your America's Cyber Czar. I know there's so many things out there today. People have laptops and desktops and phones and tablets and smartwatches and smart everything else, and with the usernames and passwords and apps and just all their credit card information out there. To me, it's scary. I do have one of those thingy similar to LifeLock. It's not LifeLock, but it's a protection service that I do use. Talk to us a little bit about what people are suffering from today and what they need to know coming up with all this crazy AI tech stuff.
Yeah. So it's crazy to think about, but America actually goes in and we dominate in physical warfare. We have the best Navy, the best Air Force, the best weapons, the best technology. However, when it comes to cybersecurity, we are the only nation in the world that doesn't have unified laws on cybersecurity or data privacy. We're basically relying on California. And I don't know about you, they're a little crazy. And the fact that
I don't trust them for
California
anything.
is dictating what our protection of citizen information is insane. So basically in the United States, data privacy is a train that left the station and is never coming back. And you as citizens are at risk. So I just decided last year, enough is enough. The government's not stepping up. The government's making cyber a partisan issue, dividing it. The craziest part is the average member of Congress is 60, which means they didn't get a smartphone until they were in their 40s. Imagine a 40-year-old dealing with technology. The last U.S. president, when he left office, was in his 80s. The current president will be 83 when he leaves office. They have no clue about technology and cyber law. So somebody needs to step up and protect citizens. And then especially with the onslaught of artificial intelligence, imagine now customized attack vectors going after you, going after your family, going after your kids that learn, adapt, and get better every time you go in and you get a message. You're probably already getting these messages about toll booths or tolls in Florida or Virginia you need to pay. You're getting emails that look like they came from legitimate companies, legitimate banks that have links and embedded content. The attacker is advancing at an exponential rate, and the U.S. is way behind not passing laws. So I'm here to protect and make sure that people know what's going on. They secure their systems, implement proper security, because big tech and government are not going to do it.
Well, I was going to say, how are you going to do that? Because I don't think you have much of a background, do you? Kind of fill our people in.
You've been at this 30 years. You were around before Al Gore invented the internet, I think. You were doing security before Al Gore did this. So talk to us, give a little bit of credibility so our viewers know who you are early on so that they'll pay attention because, Randy, I think he's legit.
I think he is.
He's too legit to quit. But talk to us about that, Eric.
So I started my career working at the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency in Langley, Virginia, in early 1990, January 1990 to be exact. And just to put it in content, the World Wide Web was not invented until 92. Smartphones like the Apple iPhone did not come out until 2007. Amazon and Google were not incorporated until 1997 and 1998. So this was early on. And I often joke that Al Gore might have invented the internet, but I helped design, build, and secure it because I was basically in the early forefront. And to make it real interesting, in 1990, I was actually doing AI programming for the Counterterrorist Center to track and monitor and catch terrorist activity. So this idea that people think AI is new and AI has just come out in the last 2 to 3 years is a fallacy. We've been doing it and working in it since the late 80s, early 90s. We just needed more advanced data sets for it to become mainstream for America. And then in 92, when the World Wide Web came out, I'm sitting in a meeting at CIA headquarters in the bubble and thousands of people, and they're talking about this new thing called the internet that they're going to use for covert communications to replace radio frequency. And I did what you're not supposed to do, and I raised my hand. And then I did what you're not supposed to do and ask a really difficult question, which is, how do we know this technology is secure? How do we know it's protected? How do we know it's locked down? The execs look at each other and go, Eric, thank you for volunteering. We'll give you $50,000, 2 resources in 6 months, figure it out. I thought it'd be a math problem. I thought there'd be strategic ways to prove a system is secure. You can't prove a system is secure. You can only prove it's not secure by hacking or breaking in. So that led to a 6-year stint at the CIA being a professional hacker, breaking into anything that had a computer, with my specialty really being in nuclear reactors, protecting, securing, and looking for exploits,
which then let me work with the NRC, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, on helping to build out, protect, and secure nuclear reactors in the United States. Left the CIA and then realized that I'm one of those geeky guys that like to be an entrepreneur. So I started a company with 4 other people called TSGI. We sold that to Lockheed Martin for $400 million. I stayed on as their chief scientist, doing all things security. So when the Chinese broke into the Joint Strike Fighter, I was woken up at 2 a.m., had a plane fueled at Dulles Airport at 3 a.m., and I'm on my way for 4.5 weeks to Texas to protect and secure the data. And what people don't realize is we don't care that the Chinese got access. Everyone's like, oh my God, the Chinese got access to the Joint Strike Fighter. They had that already. What we cared about, and what my concern was of why I spent over a month there, was what did they alter or change? What modifications did they make to the weaponry, the radar, and the other components of that aircraft that could go in and cause negative impact in wartime conditions? That was the concern factor. It wasn't the confidentiality. It was the integrity of the information. I was then recruited, as we talked about before the show, by John McAfee and Dave DeWalt to work at McAfee as their chief scientist, redesigning their entire product line, which we essentially sold to Intel for $2.1 billion. And then I built and run a training company, sold that off, and now I'm running Secure Anchor. I've written 7 books, and I'm basically here at a point in my life. I don't need to work. I have plenty of money from my different acquisitions, and I'm here really as a contribution to help contribute and protect people and individuals.
You know what I got to say about that? Bragger.
You said to give my background.
Well, when you sold your business for $400 million, that kind of solidified for me why you have such a nice looking studio in the background there. The foam panels and the lights. I'm like, this guy must be doing something right, Randy. And then he sells the company for $400 million.
I won't show up, but I could zoom in on you. We can get different angles. I have different mics. We can go all fancy if we need to.
Nice.
That's unbelievable. So, I mean, today people have all these devices, and we all have. A lot of us have kids, or some of us have grandkids, and they're getting phones when they're in kindergarten. And you mentioned a while ago the toll booths. A month or so ago, I was getting all kinds of toll booths. My mom is in her late 80s; she's getting toll booth things, and And this morning, I wake up to a text. It's like, "Hey, we've been looking at your resume, and you're like the ideal candidate."
Oh, I get those all the time.
And I'm thinking, and I replied to someone, I'm like, "Well, send me the resume because I want to see which one you're looking at because I want to see how I'm qualified." Of course, you never hear from them. And sometimes, like 2 weeks ago, I did that, and I got a reply back from like a local phone number where it looked like the people that sent that original text was somehow piggybacking on somebody's local phone number. And so I don't know how all this stuff is happening, but what are the threats with like the toll booths and the, hey, we're looking at your resume, you'd be an ideal candidate type of messaging? What do we need to think about and worry about there?
The biggest thing there and each one is a little different. The toll booth one is all about basically stealing your credit card and your identity. So when you click on those links, it'll basically give you a payment form where you'll enter in your credit card data, and then it will often go in and say, hey, we need to verify or validate, and then ask for date of birth, last 4 digits, things that your 80-year-old grandma would fall for and just don't realize that's not legit and not valid information. So they're really financially driven, or like the one about the resume and others, they're signs of life. They want to go in and see that if they have a live, vulnerable person, because if you reply to that and say, hey, here's my resume or CV, they're not only getting your email, your LinkedIn profile, your phone number, and other critical personally identifiable data, but now they know you're alive and they know that you're vulnerable, and then they're going to continue to target you and go after you with AI-driven models. So it's really just mass mailing, trying to see who we can weed out, who we can identify and put on the short list to then target, exploit, and go after.
So you said that, AI has been around a long time. So when we started getting these spams and phishes and all these different things 10 years ago, they were using AI to do it then.
So they were using very first generation AI, but remember, AI is only as good as the data sets. It's only as good as the data models that you're trained on. And 5-10 years ago, we just didn't have the robust data sets that we do today. There's no coincidence that Elon Musk acquires Twitter and 2.5 years later, he releases Grok. Twitter was not anything other than him getting access to critical data. Other surprising thing, Elon in January goes and works for President Trump, going in and government efficiency. He had private servers at State Department, Treasury, and all those locations, copying all their data, bringing it back to Texas so he can load it into Grog. There's no coincidence that Grog came out 3 months after he had access to all the private data. And here's the crazy part. When Hillary installed private servers at State Department, the Republicans freaked out. The Democrats said it's okay. Elon's coming in doing private servers at more damaging levels than Hillary ever did. Republicans are saying it's fine. Democrats is not, and he gets away with it. There's no reason why after he had the servers and got all his data that he conveniently fought a fight with Trump, got pushed out of the government 4 months later. It wasn't about government efficiency for Elon. It was about accessing critical data to load into Grog so he could have the best AI engine on the planet.
So are you saying President Trump got outsmarted by Elon?
Yes. But on the other hand, though, you got to go. President Trump always has a plan and always has an agenda. Yeah. So it was perfect timing because he got to do government efficiency. He got to go in and do a lot of exploitation, but it wasn't him. It was Elon. So Elon took the fall, and then Trump came away clean.
Eric, I don't think most people, I mean, me included, I don't know about you, Randy, but I don't think most people really realize how exposed they truly are. Do you?
Yes, people are so exposed, and the reality that you've probably been compromised and don't even realize it is probably in the 90% or higher, because what most people don't realize is when your data is compromised, it's not used right away. It's used passively to exploit, monitor, track, and open up credit, and many people have no clue and no reality, and most attackers aren't wiping out your bank account. They're not charging $10,000 to your credit card each month. They're going in and adding $5 to your bill. Imagine you go to a restaurant and you do an $8 tip, and instead the person ringing it up adds a $12 tip instead of $8. Nobody looks at the bill after your tips. You realize they run your credit card. You take a piece of paper, you write down the tip, and then they go in the back and enter it. You have no idea whether they're entering 8, 10, 12, or $15.
I never thought about that. I've thought about that. That's
And most people don't even check it an exact number. What I do, and I recommend everyone doing, the security is there. It has to be turned on, is whenever I use my credit card, I get a text notification within a minute that I verify and validate the real amount. So now I have my bill in front of me. I know that it's $96.21 with tip. I immediately hold my phone. I wait for that amount to come in. I check, it's $92.61. I hit okay. And now I'm verifying in real time, which is much more easier and scalable than waiting till the end of the month.
What kind of program or app is that?
That's built into the credit card. If you go in to your credit card service and you go under security, you should turn on two-factor authentication. Passwords are dead. Passwords are a thing of the past. If you're using passwords for anything, you're basically exposed and vulnerable because your passwords are known and they're basically already controlled in attack vectors. You got to use two-factor authentication. The crazy part is it's turned on. Sorry. The crazy part is it's available, but it's not turned on by default because people don't think that consumers will want it or demand it. And people are always like, but Eric, that's an inconvenient to enter in that two-factor. It's an inconvenient to check my phone. And my response is, it's an inconvenient? Having your bank account compromised. It's an inconvenient? Having your identity stolen. It's an inconvenient? Having your credit cards open in your name, running up thousands of bills, and you're liable because it's under your name and your social and you didn't properly protect or secure it. So the question is, pick your form of annoyance. Do you want a little bit up front or do you want a lot later on in life?
So let's talk about the whole credit card and two-factor authentication. I know a lot of people today use credit card and they use debit card. Do you have a recommendation on which is more secure?
Yes. Never, ever, 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 even if you're double dog dared, ever use debit cards. Debit cards are pure evil. And the reason is if you use a debit card and it gets compromised, the money comes out of your account. You're vulnerable and liable, not the bank. It comes out in real time. And because you didn't protect your debit card, you're the one that's vulnerable. With a credit card, the law has passed, Congress passed the law that credit card companies are actually vulnerable and responsible for fraud. So if you use your credit card and somebody uses it in an unauthorized manner and you report it, credit card company has to pay, you don't. So you should always use credit cards. I know Susie Orman and all these financial advisors like use debit cards because you're tracking the money in real time. Yeah, they're historic dinosaurs before the internet, before cybersecurity, and never ever on the internet use debit cards. They're too vulnerable, too exposed, and too big a risk.
I think if we were having Dave Ramsey in between Randy and me right now, we would be doing like a battle back and forth through the interwebs between Dave Ramsey and you, because he says never ever use credit cards, only use debit cards. You're saying just the opposite. So you're saying credit cards are far more safe and secure if they do get compromised.
It's like insurance.
I mean, Dave Ramsey's correct. If you're still riding a bicycle and you're Amish and you have candles and you don't have a single computer system, debit cards are better because you're tracking your expense in real time. The money comes directly out of your account. You can't run up debt because you'll eventually run out of money. So yes, from a puristic standpoint for managing your money, debit cards are better, but not in a day and age of a digital world that we live today, where we're buying everything online. We're using debit cards everywhere. Credit cards are the way to go to protect and secure your identity.
Well, let me ask one more question on that. So I was talking to my wife the other day, and she had heard somewhere that, for instance, Southwest Airlines has their own credit card. And I think they've been charging like $99 a year to be a card holder. Well, now they've decided to go up to I think she said $239 a year. And I'm thinking, that's quite an increase. So do you have recommendations, Eric, on which cards are better to use from a cost standpoint and a safety standpoint?
Yeah, I always prefer credit cards that if you have a certain amount that you charge, doesn't actually charge a yearly fee. Because here's the reality. The reason why Southwest and some of these credit cards are charging you $200 or $300 a year is to offset the fraudulent activity that's occurring on your card. They don't want to be liable. So if they charge everyone $300 and have thousands upon thousands, they're basically offsetting all the fraudulent behavior. But I basically I travel a lot. So I like airlines that United doesn't charge a fee. Marriott, Hilton, they don't charge a fee. Chase, others. So I would go in and sort of pick one of the cards that doesn't have an annual fee that basically could have a pretty big number. The other thing I do is I use multiple credit cards. I use one credit card for e-commerce. I use one credit card for travel. I use one credit card for restaurants. And the reason is the credit cards you're using in restaurants have such a high probability of fraud that they're probably going to only last 3 or 4 months before there's fraudulent activity. So if you're using the same credit card for everything and you're using it for e-commerce to pay your electrical bill, to pay your water bill, and that credit card is fraud every 3 months and you have to get a new one, that's very disruptive to your life. So if I have one credit card that I'm using for high-end vendors, I have another one that I'm using in more vulnerable conditions, it just reduces and limits exposure and reduces and limits risk.
So talking about the what'd you call it? Two-factor authentication. Two-factor. I get that mixed up. Two-factor authentication. So a couple of years ago, our company got ransomwared. So now our IT departments went completely nuts. When I try to get into any of our applications for the very first time within so many hours, I have to put my password in. It sends me a push notification with a number. I hit the number, and once I hit the number, it looks at my face and verifies it so there's a 4 level.
Yeah, and that's the reality, because when you start doing that, it actually verifies and validates. Now, the crazy part is I'm a huge fan of your company doing that. I'm a huge fan of multi-factor authentication, PINs, biometrics, facial recognition. But the reality is that has nothing to do with ransomware. Ransomware basically targeted servers and systems that were unpatched and vulnerable and broke in. So it's one of those where it's a good thing to do multi-factor, but you're basically fixing the wrong problem for the wrong exposure point.
Well, I'm sure they went through everything after that, but that's kind of one of the things that they did.
Eric, why do you think the U.S. is so far behind? I mean, we're so advanced technology-wise on all these different areas and industries, but why are we so far behind on cybersecurity?
So 2 reasons. One, as I mentioned, the people running this government are old. The average age is 60. The average age of a president is in the 70s. They don't understand technology. They don't get it. They don't recognize it. The media doesn't find cybersecurity attractive. They will go in and they will cover a news story. Like when President Biden basically decided not to run for a second term, they ran with that story for 2 months. When 50 million passwords are stolen, 100 million credit cards are stolen. They don't cover it because they don't understand it. They're scared, and there's no laws or protection. Plus, in the United States, they've made cyber partisan. They argue and debate over it of who's going to get the rights to it. It's crazy. We spent trillions of dollars on building our physical roads. We spent trillions of dollars on government efficiency, yet the internet is exposed and vulnerable. And the US, we own the backbone of the internet. So we can't control or disconnect. Russia, they disconnect from the internet twice a year to prove they could run independently and isolate and protect against attacks. When Iran and Israel got into the war, Iran basically disconnected from the internet so they couldn't be attacked or exposed. The United States can't do that because we are the internet. And we've been asking for 10 years, what are all the connectivity points? And we don't know. We need to redesign our internet so we're like Russia, Iran, North Korea, and China, where we can control, monitor, and limit access. But the problem is they'll spend trillions of dollars on repaving roads, but they won't spend trillions of dollars on security, digital infrastructure, and securing and protecting the internet.
So, but we're talking too about the internet controlling our electrical and our power infrastructure also, correct?
Correct. And the crazy part is, the good news, bad news is, the bad news is our critical infrastructure is vulnerable. Russia, China, Iran, they could go in and take down our electrical, they could impact our water supplies, they can do that. The good news is we can do the same to them. So we're sort of in a Cold War situation where the US had enough nuclear weapons to destroy the world 20 times over, but so did Russia. So if either one of us launched a nuclear attack, it would be world devastation and destruction. So it's the same thing as, they can get into our critical infrastructure, we can get into theirs. So it's sort of this mutual respect that they know if either one launches that attack, it'll be mutual destruction of the world.
Well, you said something that really caught my attention is when you were looking at, cyber attacks and they got into our defense, could they have changed something? Not only did they get into it, did they change something? And it maybe affect us once we launch an attack.
You talking about like code?
Well, I don't know. Software. Now the planes don't fly right. The navigation don't work. So is that something that you, in your position, could find what they changed?
Absolutely. And that was the whole reason I was sent to Texas when that hit, because that was my job, not to go in and secure the systems, is to make sure that we know what was modified or changed. And the other thing is, I'm not a conspiracy theory, but I believe in truth and facts. Look at what's happening in Newark Airport. Their air traffic control system has gone down 3 times for multiple hours. Planes have been diverted, planes have been delayed, flights have been canceled, yet nobody wants to admit the truth, which is it's probably a cyber attack. Those systems are running older systems. They're not patched. They're not up to date. They're based on stability and reliability and need to be rebuilt and restructured. And they're not. And they're old, exposed, and vulnerable.
So you're saying they don't say it, they just don't want to get that out through the media because it would create such a sheer panic among Americans then?
Exactly. And nobody wants to go in and admit the hard truth and actually investigate, verify, and validate. It's much easier to just go, there's down, brush it under the carpet. No one's going to talk about it. But the reality is there are a lot more cyber attacks going on that nobody wants to talk about, admit, because nobody knows how to protect against it. And they're concerned that the public outcry will be so huge that it's easier to bury it than admit the truth.
Well, I've always worried, and I always worry about it when I'm in the air, about cyber attacks on the airlines and the navigation and the traffic controls and all that stuff.
Yeah. And look at what happened early this year. A software vendor that basically was installed in most airlines, hospitals around the world, they pushed out an update that had vulnerability in it that crashed. Airlines were down for multiple days. Hospitals in Europe were not able to take on new patients for over a week. And this is a cybersecurity company that got hacked. Look at a couple of years ago with SolarWinds, when that system had backdoors put in because of a weak password, and government sites and commercial sites all were taken down and compromised because they were relying on a third-party vendor that had direct access to their networks.
I couldn't give anything a higher endorsement I would be remiss had I not include Cardio Miracle on my very short list of secrets.
It's the real deal. It's a real product. It's not another supplement.
I'm operating about 6 to 8 hours, and I've noticed that being on this Cardio Miracle has made a huge difference.
Since I started taking Cardio Miracle, I'm about 8 months into it, the benefits have been fantastic.
You know, if I get hungry, then I just have a Cardio Miracle.
I encourage you to take this seriously because it's not only about your athletic performance, it's about the general health long term.
Not only is it safe, but it's necessary to take Cardio Miracle to stay well.
This let me sleep. It's filling up more energy, more get up and go. And it's all because of what this company does.
For me as a doctor, Cardio Miracle is a staple.
Cardio Miracle to me is hope in a glass.
Well, what happened to the hospital up the road here? Remember that?
A couple of years ago, they got, well, Randy said, well, they were ransomware they got strung out for a lot of money, and they were down for what? Several days.
Yeah, and it was all tied together. So I thought
like
I
6
was
minutes from here.
Yeah, I thought that I was told, I may be completely wrong, that they ended up having to buy a bunch of new equipment and reprogram everything just to get out from under it.
I think they did that instead of paying the ransom. But so, Eric, if there was one, if somebody said to you, what is the one thing taking place? What's the one strategy taking place in the cyber world that nobody's talking about in America? What would it be?
It would be basically a healthy sense of paranoia. Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you. And do not click on a link. Never, ever, ever. Emails, text messages. Remember, text messaging and email were meant for information. They were never meant for file exchange. They were never meant for embedded links. They're vulnerable, exposed, and it's so easy to spoof email. I can send you an email that looks 100% valid, 100% legit. The link looks legit, but I have an embedded malicious code on it. And as soon as you click on the link, it does what's called a drive-by download. The reality is, don't trust links, trust apps. Apps are secure. Links are not. So you should have apps for your bank. You should have apps for e-commerce. You should have apps for any trusted sites. Delete all the other apps and go in and never ever click on links. And then the other biggest fallacy is the F word. Now, I was born and raised in New York. I live in Virginia, and I live by the F word. I love the F word. But on the internet, we're not talking about that F word. We're talking about free. Free is not free. Free is the most dangerous thing on the planet, is convincing people to do the dumbest, strangest things, downloading free apps. Most of these free apps require location tracking, access to your camera, access to your microphone, and free is not free. Yet many people have hundreds of apps they're not using, but they're monitoring and tracking their activity. You don't believe me? Do this after the show. Put your cell phone in front of you and just have it sit there, and then talk about a topic area. Say Ford trucks. I want a new Ford F-150. I'm going to go in and I want a Ford. I wonder how much Fords are. I wonder where it is in the area. I'd like a Ford F-150 in blue with large tires and the suspension package and the RTS engine system. And then go in and go to Google and put in a word W, and it will automatically populate what is the cost of an F-150. Where can you go for Ford F-150s? So these systems are listening, monitoring, and tracking what you're doing, and people have no clue and don't realize how vulnerable we are.
Well, let me ask this. We just had this discussion. When he tries to do a text with Patriots with Grit.
Like, I'm on an iPhone. You know how you use Siri to talk into the iPhone.
Go ahead. Tell
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I use an iPhone. And whenever I want to say, like I'm texting all the time to our guests, hey, Eric, thanks for joining us. Looking forward to having you on the Patriots with Grit podcast on Tuesday night. It will say PAT, and then it stops. It won't type out the word Patriots. It flags me or throttles me for the word Patriots. I can't say Patriots. It won't type it out. But if I say, thanks for coming on the Patriots Football with Grit podcast, it does it perfectly. So every time I type our show name with Siri, I have to say Patriots Football with Grit, and I have to go in and delete the word football because it'll only go up to PAT and it stops. So explain that to me.
So basically, these social media companies, these texting apps and others, they are basically limiting and controlling free speech, and anything that they think is conservative or goes against freedom, they typically block or don't allow. This was true story. If you go back last year, if you go back last October, right before the presidential election, and you go to any of your social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Meta, or any of those others, and you went in and you tried to post Donald Trump is the best president in the world and should run this country, it would block you. It would not allow it. It would put you in Facebook jail. But if you took the same phrase and you replaced it with Kamala Harris, it allowed it. It was perfectly okay and sent out to everyone. So they're going in and they are controlling and regulating and monitoring what we can or can't post. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, they're very biased to one side.
Well, we're constantly in YouTube jail. I mean, right now we're on we're in strike number 2. We got one more strike; they delete the channel. But we were just talking before the show. Some fellow podcasters here in the Kansas City area, they post a lot of. They have a great show, by the way. But they just had an email go out about how they are being throttled and censored by YouTube, and literally they're on their, I think, 9th or 10th channel over 4 years. But anyway, they had an episode with a doctor talking about the health benefits of red light therapy. And YouTube's like, sorry, can't talk about red light therapy. That goes against medical misinformation, and it goes against our community guidelines. I'm like, red light therapy? I mean, you're not saying, hey, here's a cure for cancer. Hey, vaccines cause this or that. It's like the benefits of red light therapy, and they flag the show and say, you're going to timeout.
Because it's preventive health. I mean, this country is so caught up on big pharma, prescription, and keeping people sick that anything that's preventive health, anything that keeps people well, like I don't know if you do peptides or anything like that. I'm huge into peptides. Are a much better alternative than prescription drugs. Yet the Federal Drug Administration, they basically are banning peptides, and they're giving no reason other than it's impacting the sale of prescription drugs by big pharma. So big pharma lobbyist groups are basically putting pressure on them to ban anything that's going to keep you healthy and anything that's going to keep you out of prescription drugs.
I was going to say, you look like a pretty healthy dude, man. I mean, you're what? I'm guessing in your late 50s. If you were doing, you and Al Gore created the internet back in the 90s, you have to be in your late 50s. And Randy, his biceps are big as yours. I mean, I noticed while ago. Look at that! Oh! Holy smell! Let's see yours.
Mine's on the bottom.
Holy cow! Look at that! I'm impressed. That gave me a whole new.
Oh, this is fantastic, because the discussion we had beforehand. Do you understand and can explain to us in a few minutes what YouTube does to identify what they're going to take off? Because I told him I think there's certain people that have been struck before are on a hot list, so now they're magnified, and anything that they don't want said gets kicked off. How does that work? Is that AI?
Yeah, so they're basically going in. And they have certain areas and themes and words. So, for example, I mean, anything that's pro-Trump, pro-conservative, they tend to block. Anything that they think is sort of impacting prescription drugs or big pharma, they're not going to allow it. And anything that they think could go in and give people freedom or protection, they're not. So that they have all these AI models that basically go in, review the content, and flag it. And like I said, sometimes it's silliness, where if you do Patriots football, it's okay. But if you do Patriots with grit, it's going to be blocked or not allowed. But you're just going in and they're deciding. They're basically deciding what laws of freedom of speech are, and they're dictating freedom of speech. There's no freedom of speech on social media. There's no freedom of speech in Facebook. There's no freedom of speech in YouTube.
Now that you're on that topic, we follow and listen to a lot of other people in this space, the conservative, hardcore truth-telling space, and there are people out there that are talking about as deep or deeper topics with guests on that are in the medical space, the political space, and they have 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, some of them have 1.2 million followers on YouTube. So our question is, are they allowing those people to stay on because they have such a large listener base that they're making YouTube so much money that it's all about the money at that point?
Yeah.
Is that why?
Yep.
Money. Yeah, here's the reality. They won't let you get big if you're small, but if you're already big and you're making them tons of money and you're drawing in followers, they will tend to look the other way and let you get rid of it. So it's all monetarily money driven, but they're basically not allowing new people to create money on things that violate their freedom of speech laws or their privacy laws. So if you're already big, you can get away with it. If you're small, you can't.
So you're saying, I mean, the Sean Ryan show, The Sean Ryan Show's a big show. He's got a big following on, I think, YouTube and Rumble. So you're saying if he were to go on and have a show on red light therapy, the health benefits of red light therapy, they'd probably give him a hall pass.
Yes.
Unbelievable. And how come there hasn't been pushback from the powers that be, government, whatever, on this whole censorship from all these big social media companies?
Because up until recently, it was the Dems that controlled the White House and controlled Congress, and it was in favor of them. And now, unfortunately, Trump is trying to pass laws and everything else, but they're being blocked. They're not being allowed. And we even see a lot of cases where a lot of the executive orders that Trump's passing, these companies are violating, they're ignoring, and there's not much we can do about it because who's going to enforce it? Who's going to go into YouTube and start arresting executives because they're not allowing certain content, allowing others? I mean, look at Twitter. I mean, President Trump was banned from Twitter. He's banned from Facebook and these others because they think he's promoting hate speech, when in reality, they just don't like him. But there's no laws or who's responsible for going in and making sure that Facebook is fair about what they allow and post? Nobody. The FBI doesn't have jurisdiction. No law enforcement has jurisdiction. So they're basically creating their own little countries, their own laws, and there's not really anything we can do because we don't have federal laws to protect or secure against it.
So during the inauguration, I believe, Zuckerberg was there. I think the CEO of Google was there, in the chambers or whatever when Trump was being his sworn in or whatever it was. Was that just for just for PR or what? Because it made it look like Zuckerberg was kind of behind Trump. He was there, and the head guy for Google, is that Pierre Odom? Who is not Pierre? That was a guy for PayPal. Who's a Google guy? Sergey Brin, whichever. But there was, there were some key tech CEOs there. Was that just for optics?
This is a butt. This is them kissing the butt of the president. They knew that they were in bed with Biden and Trump was on a warpath. Trump was going to target them, destroy them, and go after them. But they all contributed millions of dollars after he was elected in November, attended it, and sort of made friends with them. So now Trump is sort of, okay, if they're allies and in my camp and they're going to help and support me with my agenda, the White House is not going to go after them with executive orders. So it was all political baseball, where they were smart enough to know that if they did not win over Trump and get on his good graces, that he was going to wreak havoc on them and against them.
Okay, I'm going to switch gears real quick. The rumor has it that if you charge your cell phone in an airport charging station, you can get your information stolen. Is that correct?
Is that what you're talking about? I saw something on your website, Eric. Is that like juice charging or charger juice, or what was it? There's what's the certain phrase?
Juice jacking.
Juice jacking. Okay, talk to us about juice jacking. That looks like what he's been doing to his biceps, right? He's juice jacking. So you need some of that. But talk to us about juice jacking.
We haven't got to my six-pack abs yet either. So
I'm afraid to see those.
I've had enough bragging.
In the show right now.
So basically what that is people don't realize when you're plugging in your phone, you're plugging it into the exact same data point that you use for backing up data, extracting data, and reinstalling your device. So yeah, a lot of these at airports and even hotels, they basically have malware that when you plug them in, they download and extract all of your data and store them on the hard drive. And then an attacker just comes by and using Bluetooth or wireless can extract all of your information, all your personal data. So the reality is, charge your phone before you go to the airport, or buy one of those $7.99 little lipstick chargers and charge it, but don't trust anything public. Don't trust public stations because it's so easy and simple for them to juice jack and pull your data. Everything on your phone, plus they can install malware on it that basically allows remote access to your phone at a later point in time.
Even an Apple iPhone?
Yes.
Where do they put the malware? I mean, it's a plug-in and it's an electrical outlet. How do they put anything in there?
Because the outlet itself is actually a hard drive that downloads data. So if you actually went in and unscrewed those devices, it actually has hard drives with malware and software on it. Those are not just charging stations. Those actually are portable computers that are sitting behind it that can extract, monitor, and compromise data. And the thing, because we know that, I can go up to one of those charging stations and I can plug in my device and upload monitoring software and malware. So now everybody that comes later can get infected and I can access them remotely.
So if I was in the airport here a couple weeks ago, they actually had the three-pronged electrical outlet under the seat. If I take my cube and stick it in there, am I any better?
Yes, because the electrical outlets are pure electrical. Those don't have hard drives. If you're bringing your own charger and you actually plug in your charger into the electrical, you're good. It's the USB-C,
right?
Like with your iPhones, where you're plugging a USB-C cable in to that charging station, in which you're vulnerable and exposed because it's giving you full access to your iPhone and the hard drive.
So you're saying don't do it at an airport, don't do it at a hotel, any place else you should keep away from?
Any place where there's public charging stations that you're plugging in a USB-C to, don't go there. Bring your own charger, charge your phone. At hotels, do what you're doing, where you plug in your own charger via the electrical outlet and back up, but never plug into a USB-C that you don't own or control.
Now you've said C's the little one, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
C's the little one for the iPhone, yep.
What about the one prior to the USB-C on the iPhone? What was the older one called?
Oh yeah, that was just your regular USB.
It was a little bitty flat thing.
Yeah, the bigger flat one. So, same thing. That was your Apple one. That anything that you're plugging your phone into via a cable that's not electrical driven, your system can be vulnerable.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm in hotels a lot. I know now that they put a port on the wall, or the lamp has your electrical outlet to plug your laptop in, or it has the bigger USB that you can plug into. You telling me the lamps have that same hard drive thing in it?
Potentially. I mean, it's one of those. A lot of them by default don't. But somebody who stays in that room before can easily install monitoring software. So yes, bring your own charger, plug it into the electrical outlet, charge your own phone separately, but don't trust any of those data ports. There's a reason why they call them data ports. They call them data ports because you're not only charging, but you're accessing data from your device.
So then the next thing to be concerned about is, how would you recommend people protect themselves across the board? In my opinion, and what I've heard, is encryption is kind of the best method of protecting your data. Is that correct or not?
That is correct. And the good news is a lot of these apps that you have do go in and encrypt and protect and secure your data. But the reality is, even encrypted data, if you're clicking on links and your phone gets infected, or you're sending the data out, isn't going to protect you because it auto encrypts on the fly. So your best bet is an iPhone out of the box is very secure. It's all the free apps that make you vulnerable and exposed. So limit the number of apps. I run my entire life on 8 apps. There's no reason to have 50 apps. Deleting an app a day keeps attackers away. Get rid of all the free apps. Limit it to trusted, known sites. Reduce where you surf. Don't click on links. Don't open attachments. Use two-factor authentication, and you're going to be on your way to being very secure, protected, and locked down.
Is it okay to trust social media apps like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that, or X? Are those safe to have on there?
Yes, no, maybe. The apps are safe, but there are attackers that run legitimate looking accounts on Instagram, Facebook, and others that basically say, hey, here's a free download, here's a free access, this and that. And if you go in and click or access or target them, they could put malware on your system. So the apps are secure, but you can't trust the ads, because a lot of times these ads, especially on news sites, attackers are paying for the ads that are basically seem legit. But when you click on them or access them, they're actually fraudulent and stealing and protecting and collecting your data.
So you said you had 8 apps running on your phone. Do you care to share? I mean, you don't have to tell us which exact apps those are, but what type of apps are they? I mean, are they airline apps? Are they hotel apps? Are they social media apps? What do you, a banking app? What do you trust and not trust?
Yeah, so I have one for my airline, one for my hotel. I have one for my bank. I have one for shipping. I do a lot on like FedEx and UPS, so I have one for that. I then have one or two for social media. I have one for Amazon, and those are basically the main apps.
Wow. I mean, I look at my phone and my daughter's phone. It's like pages. I bet there's
of
probably
them.
150 apps on there. So is there a way to quickly and efficiently go in and see which apps are free that you can just delete?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the easiest thing is any app you haven't used in 45 days, get rid of. Because if you haven't used it in 45 days, you're not using it. The other thing that I love doing is go into your iPhone, go under settings and security, and look under location tracking. Look at all of the apps that are tracking your location, and you're going to be like, bleep, 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 this is insane. The bet is there's probably a ton of free apps that are out there, many from China, Russia, and other countries that are tracking your location, monitoring your data, and there's no reason for them to do that, but you're just unaware. And people are like, oh, but Eric, that's illegal. No, it's not. When you download every one of these apps, people don't realize it. You're going in and you're agreeing to the user license agreement. When you first install an app, there's that long thing that say, click that you agree. Nobody reads that fine print. It's 2-point font, it's 800 pages, and basically says they can do whatever they want. And then most people don't realize it. But if an app asks you, can we track your location, and you say yes, it's allowed in the Apple Store, because according to Apple, they are asking for permission and you're giving it. Most people forget, but when they're installing these free apps, all these things are coming up and we're just clicking yes, yes, yes. Nobody's reading it, but they're in essence asking us, we're agreeing, and therefore it's technically okay. And the reason why you can download these so-called free apps from the Apple Store.
So we've talked about deleting apps. We've talked about not charging your phone at the airport or in a public charging place like hotels. What else, Eric, can people do to protect themselves and their families online?
The next best thing is if you're using public Wi-Fi at coffee shops, airports, hotels, make sure you're running a VPN, a virtual private network, on your system, because that information can easily be captured and extracted. I joke that some of the best times I have in Vegas is on a Saturday night. I stay in my hotel room, and hypothetically, just in case there's law enforcement listening, I want to make sure I stay out of jail. Hypothetically, if you run a sniffer, any text messages or information that people are putting is non-encrypted and can easily be accessed. So I would tell you, it is freakingly scary, the things that people post on text messages and send to each other. I will tell you, I've seen some of these, and I had to look up some of the terms going, what position is that?
Oh, wait, okay, so you're telling me you're staying at the Mandalay Bay on a Saturday night when everything's are hopping and going downstairs in the casino. You're telling me if there's 3,000 people staying in that hotel, you, as a hacker, can get in and look at text messages from people's iPhones on different floors, different rooms, and whatever?
A hypothetical person named Enrique could absolutely do that.
Unbelievable.
So what's a sniffer? What's a sniffer?
A sniffer it's free software, so you can download that. That's the thing. These hacking tools.
Yeah, you're into AI. Let's get the sniffer.
Yeah, you can just go into the App Store and put in sniffer, NSIFFER, and you can download and install these. And it basically, when you're in any public network, it will be able to let you access and see any messages or information that's going across. And depending on when and where and how you're doing it, it might or might not be illegal.
Right.
Unbelievable. I had no idea. Anything else people can do to keep themselves safe? I've been getting into this.
Yeah. The next thing is, and I've sort of basically lived my life now on an iPad. And the reason is most malware, most malicious code are complex that runs on Windows and Mac, iOS. iPads, iOS is simpler, and most malicious code, most downloads and links do not run on it. So I basically, for my mom, my grandma, and myself, I don't use laptops. I don't use Windows OS anymore. They're too easy to be compromised. I use simple systems like an iPad, much safer, much more secure, much more protected.
So if I were to walk in your home office, you don't have like a MacBook Pro sitting there with a big old monitor or 10 monitors lined up. You're using an iPad?
Wow, I did not know that.
You're saying so. My question is, obviously on a Mac you have a hard drive, you have, Apple, whatever, the equivalent to Word, Excel, and all that's pages and whatever, notes, all that stuff. What do you have on the like where are you putting your data, your documents, and stuff like that on an iPad?
So I basically go in and I use Word and Excel and Outlook on the iPad. but they're simpler, scaled back versions that don't have the same vulnerabilities or malicious code. And then I store all my data in Dropbox, because Dropbox is fully encrypted and protected. So now all my files and information are now in encrypted drive. So even if somebody got access to my iPad, they wouldn't be able to access any of my data because it's in a separate encrypted vault in Dropbox.
So let's talk about, we've talked about all these things, what people can do to keep themselves and their families safe online. Let's take it up a notch. What do you have or offer for people? Do you have, obviously you have a book, but do you have a course? Do you have an online training? What do you have that can keep people safer than, I had no idea about this stuff, Randy. I thought the airports were safe. I thought hotels were safe. Coffee shops, I don't drink coffee, but I thought they were pretty well safe, Apparently not.
Yeah. The thing is that this is one where for consumers, you shouldn't have to pay. You shouldn't have to be vulnerable. So my book, Online Danger, if you go to onlinedanger.com, you just have to pay for shipping, but I give out free copies of the book. Follow me on social, Dr. Eric Cole, DrEricCole, Instagram and YouTube. I give away a ton of free content. Go to drericcole.org, and I have a lot of free resources. So for the average person, it's not going to cost you anything, but I have tons of free resources and information for you to keep you protected and safe. And then, of course, businesses, I have courses, I have training, I have assessments, and that's where I make all my money so I can give back and contribute to the actual average citizen.
So was this the site you were talking about?
Yep. Yeah, this is drericcole.org, drericcole.org.
Okay. So you got all kinds of articles and things.
Look at that handsome man up there. Look at that handsome guy.
Oh my
Look at that neck on him. Holy cow.
Oh my gosh.
I kind of want to get into, after we get done with the cybersecurity, talk about how he has such good big abs and or such great abs.
You got a man crush again?
Bicep. I want to talk about his diet and his lifestyle and his exercise. That's inspiring to me.
So you also have another book. You mentioned that one. The one you just mentioned was Online Danger.
Yeah.
You've got
Cyber Crisis. This one is geared a little bit towards businesses. So if you're running a small, medium, or large size business, this is good. For the average person, you can read it also, but it's really geared more for protecting and securing businesses. But all the principles still apply to individuals, because here's the reality. Whoever you are, you're the CEO of your life. You're the CEO of your family. You're running a business. Your family household is a business. Your life is a business. So this book is also more recent and a little more up to date, which is also a great read.
So give us the name of the book that you said you give out to consumers for free.
Online Danger, and then Cyber Crisis. You can purchase that. I don't actually give that one for free, but Online Danger I do.
And Online Danger is actually a printed, like a hardback or paperback?
Yeah, you could pay for it from Amazon or buy it in stores. But like I said, I'm trying to give back. So I buy 1,000 copies every quarter, and I just give them away for free.
I'm going to take him up on that, Randy. I'm a big, huge reader. I love reading. But this is fantastic. I had, I thought I have an Apple phone, MacBook Pro, and a handful of apps. I thought I'm pretty well in the safety zone. But it doesn't look like it, Randy. What about you?
I've learned a lot through work, because we have to go through a lot of cyber threat training, because they just want us aware of what are the triggers and phishing and whaling and all that stuff.
I tell you, Eric, this has been fantastic.
Yeah, love it.
This is way more than I bargained for. I
always like providing tons of value, so I'm so glad to hear that. That's my purpose.
I kind of let the air out of my balloon, because I'm a huge Dave Ramsey fan, and I'm just like, over here it's like debit card, over here Eric's credit card, and there's like this battle going on, and my gosh, it just seems like every time you turn around, somebody's out to get you in your pocket or your data, or it's a constant battle.
Well, you know what? I just had another thought. And help
That's
me
rare.
on this. Yeah, I know. I only have one or two. When you talked about your credit card and the two, I said, what is it again? Two-factor authentication. Is that authentication work when you buy something off Amazon and you've already got your card in the system? You know what I'm talking about? When it's in the system?
No, so you have to go to whoever you got your credit card from and log into their site and set up the security controls there. So this way, when you go in and use your credit card on Amazon, the credit card company will then text you and say, we're just doing an $85 purchase. Is this okay? And then you explicitly approve it. So you set it up externally. And then when you use it in Amazon or a restaurant, it will trigger the credit card company to set up and text notify or verify.
And it will do that for any purchase.
Yes.
So say your wife is the primary credit card holder and I'm the secondary credit card. So she gets the credit card she's the primary account holder from the company. She gets a card. She gets me a card. So if I were to make a purchase at a gas station, would it text my cell phone? And if she was making a purchase at the nail salon, would it text her cell phone? Or how do they break that out?
You can do it a couple ways. One, you can set up the primary card holder to get all notifications, or you can set it up per card holder. So you can actually do it different ways. Like for me, my kids are a little older, but in college they're not working, so I'm still covering them a little. So with my kids' credit cards, I get the notification. So this way, like my one daughter, when it was like, okay, sweetie, how come Friday night when you went to the bar, you're 90 pounds, you tell me you don't drink a lot, and you have a $200 bar bill, right? Tell me what's going on here.
And stop by the pot store.
You can sort of get controls and monitoring, so you can set them up however you want.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Eric, what's one good piece of advice you'd give our viewers and our listeners that they can start with, like right now?
Be paranoid. Don't trust anything. I would go in and re-image your phone, because most likely if you have more than 20 apps, you're infected. Re-image your phone. Any app you haven't used in 45 days, delete, get rid of, and just be very careful of what you download, what you click on, and location tracking. Make sure you check, verify, and validate that on a regular basis.
Unbelievable. I want to say thanks for coming on here, man. This has been probably one of the best shows we've done in months, Randy.
Okay, that's what I like to hear, man. I'm so glad.
We've done so many shows around, politics and medical freedom and education and some technology, some AI, but man, this one here hit home.
Right.
It's just it's very, very good. I'm glad we ran onto you.
Well, you think maybe we could get you back on to dig deeper into AI, because we've got a couple people that have come. No, is that a no?
That's a yes. I love AI. I live by AI, but I also think that these execs that are basically saying 30% of the workforce is going to be replaced by AI doesn't understand empowerment, leadership, and is so naive and drawn back. So I would love to jump back on and we could spend an hour talking AI, man. I live by that stuff.
The dangers of AI. Let's do that. And then we'll talk about his biceps and his abs in that show too.
My gosh.
Randy, you and I are approaching our sixth decade.
Hey, I bet yours don't hang as low as mine do.
He could probably afford a trainer. If he sold his company for $400 million, he has a trainer. Do you have a trainer?
I do. But I love doing and crafting my own workouts. So what I do is I've had so many trainers that I basically study. And this just shows you how insane I am. Even though I don't do it for a business, I went in and took the test, and I'm a personal certified trainer. So I understand and know how things work, how things operate. I get my blood work done every 2 months, and I actually go through, analyze, and adjust the blood work because I understand and know it better than most doctors.
So talk to me about this just real quick for say a minute or so. How many days a week do you exercise?
Every day that ends in Y.
Okay. And is it like alternate, like weights, cardio? Is that how you do it? You break it up like that or what?
I do a 3-day split. So I go in and work every body part twice. My week is a 6-day week. So I just repeat every 7th day. I go in and chest and triceps is 1 day. Back and biceps is the next. Legs and shoulders is the next. And then I repeat because now I'm going in and I'm giving myself 48 hours between, actually 72 hours between workouts, which is more than enough. And here's the reality. It's all mental gymnastics. If you go in and you say, I'm going to work out 4 days a week, that means 3 days a week you're not working out. So that means Monday when you're tired, I'm going to skip today. As soon as you give yourself an out and you skip 1 day, you're going to skip the next day. And the next thing you know, you're working out 2 days a week and not 4. So to me, every morning I get up. I don't believe in getting up with an alarm clock because I think your body should get up once it has full rest. I usually wake up naturally somewhere between 4:30 and 5. I do my meditation, my journaling, and then I go to the gym. And some days I'm in the gym for 30 minutes. If I'm a little tired or didn't get as much sleep, I don't do a full workout, but I show up every day and I do at least 30 minutes. So this way my mind is mentally trained that it's non-negotiable and I must go every day, even if it's for shorter or longer workouts.
I know you're based out on near the East Coast, and I know that's where the headquarters, I believe, Five Guys and Burgers and Fries are located. Do you ever go to Five Guys?
No, and the reason is The reason is, if you go back, and I joke, it used to be called 7 guys, but 2 of them died of heart attacks by eating their own food. So, I think in another year or 2, it's going to be 3 guys and 2 guys because not for nothing, but I mean that stuff just isn't healthy. Now, don't get me wrong, I love a good burger, but I actually go in and I'll typically I have a butcher and I'll take filet, which is some of the leanest, most healthiest meat. I have them grind it up into a hamburger, and then I mix in some stuff with that. So I'm actually doing very, very healthy hamburgers, not this fatty, greasy patty.
All right. Well,
Right.
I'm going to tell you what, I'm on target then because I focus on my abs every day by shoving stuff down my throat.
Well, Randy's doing better, though. Randy's lost 15 pounds in the last few weeks. So
way to go, Randy.
I'm
Fred,
trying to give him some encouragement over here. So, all right, Eric, thanks so much for joining us on here, my friend. Hope to have you back for a future update on AI.
I'd love to, man. It's been a pleasure.
All right, take care. We'll see you.
See you. In an age where cyber threats, from hacker surveillance on public Wi-Fi to sneaky IP leaks, can expose your private life, your digital safety hinges on encryption. ExpressVPN shields your connection with AES 256 post-quantum WireGuard and a default kill switch that stops data leakage, even during remote access or interrupted networks. And when IP exposing flaws surface in Windows, they patch it fast and help future-proof your security. Stay private, stay protected. ExpressVPN. Get your VPN before it's too late. You can go to expressvpn.com/grit. That's GRIT. expressvpn.com/grit. And you can get 3 extra months free when you sign up for a 12-month package. Stop your threats today.